Last year, the Department of Education decided to select 5 classroom teachers from across the United States to come work full-time at the department and talk to policymakers about educational policy, bringing our perspective as classroom teachers and what policy looks like when it finally gets through the state filters and the district filters and the principal's filters all the way down into the classroom. And a lot of people at the department were surprised at how much policy changed by the time it got down to teachers. So that was our job, was to engage in those conversations, not just in the department, but also across Washington with lots of different policymakers. This last year's program, we were the pilot group. There were also 20 classroom teachers that were selected across the United States who stayed in their classrooms and then worked part-time on an average 10 to 15 hours a month, working on policy with different people at the department. Most of the Washington fellows were placed in program offices, but I think I was the luckiest one. I was placed in the Office of English Language Acquisition, and I was able to sit in on really high-level meetings, evaluation studies of Title III, working with the people at the National Clearinghouse for English Language Acquisition and their new contract to see what directions it was taking and be able to comment on that, to write articles for their newspaper, just to really comment on the direction of the office and on the policies and guidance and other program areas that it's involved in. So I really got to dig in deep. And I think, you know, what I found out is, at first I felt like I wasn't making much difference, because in the classroom, when you make a difference, it's like every day. And it's big, life-saving differences sometimes in the lives of your students. But at the department, everything moves so slowly. And it took me a while to not be frustrated anymore, because after a while I realized in the classroom what I say on a day-to-day basis can make a big difference immediately. In the department, what I say or what I do or what I write can make a giant difference, because even just changing the wording of a proposal or the wording in a draft of some legislation where it addresses English learners' needs can impact 8.5 million children. And you may not see it for another 4 years, but the impact is enormous, beyond what I can probably really comprehend. So that's what I got to do in the department for this last year. During my fellowship, I've really come to appreciate how important it is for teachers to become much more involved in policy development, whether the policy is just for your school. For example, what the bell schedule looks like is a policy decision that teachers can impact. At your district, on textbook selection, curriculum direction, in the state, and especially at the national level. It's important because we know what happens in the classroom. We know how to make the magic that turns kids on, and what happens to turn kids off and encourage them to drop out and not feel like they belong in school. So unless policymakers are hearing from us, they can only conjecture about what needs to be changed, what needs to be improved to make education good for all students. So what I think all the fellows came to the realization about is that we need to, as fellows, one of our missions is to go back to our districts and to organize teacher leaders, teachers who are passionate about what they do, and show them easy ways and effective ways to have a say in what policy comes down to the classroom.